Streets of Rage is a beat-em-up game developed by Sega and released for the Genesis in 1991. The game's protagonists are former cops, who have decided to take the law into their own hands to take down the city's big crime syndicate. The plot reminds me of the film Payback, minus the cops, and both are an homage to gritty's 70s film noir. Streets of Rage follows the familiar formula already set forth for the beat-em-up genre. Punch, kick, and throw endless waves of thugs and baddies. Reach the end of the stage, kill a boss, repeat. The game has 3 selectable characters, each with a different weakness, either in speed, power, or jumping ability. As a kid, I played a few beat-em-ups that had less than stellar controls and questionable hit detection, which pretty much steered me away from the genre for decades. Streets of Rage, on the other hand, is brilliant. The controls are simple, fast, and responsive. You can basically punch and jump. Repeatedly pressing the attack button will generally make a cool combo happen. Even better, when you are in a grapple, different directions on the D-pad will perform various new attacks and throws. It's all very satisfying, and the flow of the attacking is natural and fun. You also have a single special attack per life. This will call your cop buddies in for backup, who launch a missile that thankfully always hits the bad guys and misses our heroes. There are also plenty of items lying around that provide additional reach beyond our punch, or provide additional damage. The stages in Streets of Rage are what you would expect from a beat-em-up. They move from left to right with the occasional stage hazard and destructible element thrown in. For the most part, these are outdoor affairs. The graphics definitely have that early Genesis feel to them. The character animations are underwhelming, particularly the walking animations. This certainly isn't pushing the system to its limits, like games released later in the console's life cycle. With that said, the graphics are still appealing. The style here is excellent, and the backgrounds are very interesting, and are the perfect environments for brawling. The variety is terrific, and each of the 8 stages has its own unique look and feel. As you can hear, Streets of Rage has a wonderful soundtrack. The sound hardware in the Sega Genesis was very hit or miss for developers. The folks that program their own sound code often produce some of the Genesis's most iconic sounds. The developers that used this sound code in Sega's development kit produced that strange, tinny, hollow sound often plaguing Genesis games. Streets of Rage succeeds in having wonderfully clear instrument samples along with excellent compositions. The music does a great job blending dance and techno with some subtle jazz notes to create something that is awesome to listen to, yet still fits the gritty crime underworld. Tracking down a cartridge simply for the sound menu would be totally worth it. While the soundtrack is the game's best feature, Streets of Rage also succeeds at being fun. Beat-em-ups are not my favorite genre, but I had no trouble playing this one through multiple times in one sitting. I never had any issues pulling off attacks. The hit detection is also spot on. There were never any instances where I felt frustrated that my button presses weren't being represented on the screen, nor did the enemies have cheap, undefensible attacks. There's enough variety in the bad guys to keep the repetitive nature of the game from ever feeling tedious or boring. Streets of Rage is a short enough game that it never overstays its welcome, and the difficulty curve from the beginning to end is gradual. Of course, this style of game is better with a second player, and the game supports a 2-player cooperative mode. Per usual, I did not get to test this out. Overall, Streets of Rage is a fantastic game. For being an early release, it's an extremely polished Genesis game that holds up very well. I wasn't expecting to like this one as much as I do. The amazing soundtrack, gritty feel, varied environments, and satisfying gameplay add up to one of the better games of the 16-bit era. This one is a classic. 4 out of 5.